Hi, Guido Fox here. Welkom bij een nieuw book report. Today I want to discuss with you this book. Very thick book, right? From Hannah Arendt. 800 pages of philosophy and also a lot of spirituality. So it is philosophy and spirituality in one. And I want to discuss with you more the spiritual depth of the talks from the biggest philosophers on earth and also her her opinion here. First of all, the life of the spirit. This book calls the life of the spirit. 800 pages of information. I really like this book. It is very deep information about philosophy and spirituality, but the most of all, I like that she really read the material from Socrates, the material from Plato, the material from Augustinus and other philosophers, Nietzsche, Rousseau, Hegel, Kant, and all those philosophers. She really read the work and the core, the essence of that work. She incorporated in this book. And I read that she really read the work of the biggest philosophers on earth, and I forgot also Aristoteles. So it's high quality work because she relates all the different philosophers, what Kant is saying, what is Nietzsche saying, where there are differences between the philosophers, what is Socrates saying here. So really interdynamic science, and that's I like to see in books. I read so many books, so I think I can scan some quality here, but I like to see if someone relates different philosophers with each other and then give your own opinion about it. So I should say read this book, The Life of the Spirit, 800 pages, very difficult, but is very worth to read. I want to start with page 18, and that is that it's about meaningfulness, and sentence in life, deeper life questions, deeper feeling of urge to make something about your life. And a lot of people are with these questions, right? Why I'm living here, what's my purpose here, where I get energy from. And what you see is that a lot of people want to read. Too less people are reading actually, but a lot of people want to read and want to read books. And what she's saying here is actually you're not want to read because of the knowledge you get here, but you want to read because that gives you a thinking activity. You have to think if you read a book, and thinking is the basic form of meaningfulness. So if you're thinking, you think about what you read, that is meaningfulness. So it's not that you want to get the knowledge, and knowledge is power, and you want to be the best of the class, and you want to show your colleagues or your friends how intellectual you are. So it's a kind of ego trip. But mostly behind that ego trip, there is a deep sentence of life, a meaningfulness of life. Therefore, you grab all the knowledge from your surroundings, right? I want to read this, I want to read that, because you're searching for something. You search for a deeper urge, you search for a deeper meaningful life. So that's the reason why you read books. And not only because of the knowledge, but also the thinking activity by itself. And that's a very interesting comment I think she make, is that a lot of people are going into an ego trip and go on television shows, and they're coming home by people and show all the books they read. But the deeper issue is here that you want to have a meaningful life. Therefore, I like to read books. It's not the knowledge or something I get all the time, but I like the process of reading too. I like to read the words. I like to be quiet in my room. I like to concentrate on the reading process. So all the thinking activity is meaningfulness by itself. So therefore I love to read books. So not from a perspective, knowledge is power, right? If you're thinking about that, oh, I want to read all those self-help books because knowledge is power, that is the wrong ego trip here. And that is what I see a lot of times in my environment, is that people are reading because they want to show off. And there we go to Socrates. He called on page 27 in this book, Socrates tells us the side effect of thinking is that you're becoming to your conscience, coming to your deepest truth in your person. You're coming to het geweten in Dutch, conscience, not consciousness, but conscience. So you, with the side effect of thinking, you really go deeper in yourself. So if you read philosophers, you think about the concepts, you think about their patterns of thinking, you will become more conscious. You become more soul. You create more thinking patterns. You become more happier too, because you learn new things. So you become more a whole person. And then you escape from your animal being. And that's what Socrates said in his work, is that if you read, you really think. And if you think, you become more and more human. You escape from the animal. You become more and more human, and you become more wise. And that's the deepest life coach sentence here. Then we go to Kant, the philosopher Kant, and he's a very rational guy. Kant, and he said something interesting on page 105, and it's that the pure reason, he calls it the pure reason, is only dealing with yourself. And if you're thinking also, fully thinking is also dealing with yourself. But he said here, the pure reason is true, is only dealing with yourself, and also couldn't be anything else. Pure reason is going inside. What are you thinking? Why are you thinking some patterns in your mind? Then you evaluate yourself. So that's the pure reason, what Kant is describing in his work. The pure reason, finding the pure reason. And that is non-egocentric, to be with yourself, to develop yourself, because your flower and your wisdom becomes bigger and bigger, and you influence the world. You influence the people in your surroundings. So it is very good to work on yourself, because you can share more and more and more with the world. So it's not an egocentric way to find your pure reason, what Kant is describing in his work. And that brings me by page 136, and that is the will of power, will, mental power, but power as strength and not again on the egocentric way, but that the will, and that's an interesting thing in the philosophy, they talk a lot about will. They talk about pure reason, they talk about the side effect of thinking, they talked about the thinking activity itself, but also about the will, the willpower, what you want to reach with your thinking activity, what you want to reach, where it goes, where your energy is going. So you need to find in your life not your purpose, your mission, but also the will power to reach something in your life, to reach enlightenment, to reach your career goals, and have the will constantly there in your mind. Willpower is very underestimated. We're setting goals and we're thinking, okay, let's do that, but we're not thinking about reaching our goals. So the thinking and the will is very important. What I want to reach with my thinking activity. And be there full consciousness by that will. I want to have more intimacy in my life. I want to enjoy more intimacy in my life. I want to open my seventh chakra awakenings. I believe in the enlightenment of my chakra and my stability there. I want to reach that. I have the will to be successful in my life. Willpower is not only setting goals, but also constantly be there in your thinking and in the will. The will is a very interesting pattern. It's a very interesting issue in the philosophy. They all talk about the will. And the will of Kant, your mental organ, he calls the will your mental organ. The will is setting the preface to the eternal return. And the eternal return is from Nietzsche. So the eternal return is Nietzsche. So the will of your thinking in combination with the opening of the seven chakras. Then you go to Osho, Jesus, and Buddha. So you go with the will, you go there, your thinking activity in relationship with your body. So it is a whole organ. It is not a split. Your mind is not a split of your body. Your mind is whole with your body if you have the will. And the will is the preface of enlightenment. Will power to reach it, to reach the openings of your ecstatic line. But you need the will that you can do it and that you try it in your meditations to go inside in the seven chakras. So the will, the philosophers were right, and the more spiritual guys finish the task here. So the willpower and the eternal return of Nietzsche. Augustinus, a Christian guy in the past, like Thomas von Aquino, Augustinus on page 291, if you become whole, if you have your thinking activity and your will in order, if you can think inside, if you can go inside, if you find your eternal return from Nietzsche, if you find that consciousness, if you have your high thinking, your higher thinking, your pure reason, your consciousness from Socrates, then you are free from your inner split. the split personality, the mask personality. You are real. For the first time in your life, you're whole, you're new. You are a reborn personality, rebirth. It's also a word, but very Christian. Rebirth. You're a new person, you have a new personality, you're whole. You're free from the split. That's an interesting one, right? And that's what Augustinus also said. In me, there's someone who is more himself than me. There's someone inside me who is more himself, who is more stable, who is a mirror for me, who is ecstatic Loden. Something in me is more and more pure reason, is more pure than what I am in my surroundings, in my shield, in my external personality. My inner personality is pure, is holy. That's what Augustinus here is saying. He's more himself than what I was. And you have to train. Augustinus told that too on page 3883. You have to train. It's not something you can reach in to sit under a Bodhi tree and to reach it. You have to train. You have to train to wake up, to awake. You have to train hard to reach it. And Augustinus said on page 460 that the power of the will has to return in a pure activity. So you have the will to reach something, then you reaching something. It's a skill up process. You're reaching something, you have the will, and the will has to stay there, and the will has to turn around, reshaped to a pure activity. And that's the eternal return of Nietzsche. The eternal return is your pure activity. And Hannah Arendt is said on page 437, the will is the will to become a master over yourself. So the will is the will to become master over yourself. Master over your thinking activity. Master over your pure reason. Master over your eternal return. So become a master over yourself. That is what Hannah Arendt said on page 437. That's very wise, a wise comment. So this more spiritual explanation of the sentences of the biggest philosophers on earth. And so a more spiritual view, more deeper analysis here about the sentences of the big masters. There are a lot more discussed in this book. You can read it, 800 pages, but I think it is the core spiritual essence of this wonderful book of Hannah Arendt. Thank you for watching. I see you by the next video. Bye bye.